It first flew in 1955. The Air Force said it would be retired by 1960, then by 1970, then by 1990, then by 2010.
It was supposed to be replaced by the SR-71 Blackbird, then by spy satellites, then by stealth drones. Every single one of those replacements has been retired. But the U-2 Dragon Lady is still flying combat missions in 2026. This is the story of the spy plane that refused to die. In 1954, the United States had a problem. The Soviet Union was building bombers, missiles, and nuclear weapons faster than American intelligence could track them. President Eisenhower needed to see inside the Iron Curtain. He turned to a man named Kelly Johnson at Lockheed Skunk Works Division. Johnson promised to deliver a new spy plane in 8 months. He delivered it in 7. The aircraft was called the U-2. The U stood for utility. It was a deliberate lie, meant to disguise what the plane actually did. The U-2 was designed to fly higher than any aircraft in history. Its operational ceiling was over 70,000 feet, more than 13 miles above the Earth. At that altitude, the sky is black. The curvature of the Earth is visible. And in 1955, no Soviet fighter, no Soviet missile, and no Soviet radar could reach it. The plane achieved this by being almost impossibly light. Kelly Johnson designed it as a jet-powered glider. The wings were so long and thin that the aircraft could shut off its engine and coast for hundreds of miles. But flying that high came with a price. At 70,000 feet, the air is so thin that the U-2 must fly at nearly its maximum speed just to stay airborne. Fly any slower, and the wings stop generating lift. Fly any faster, and the airframe begins to tear itself apart. Pilots called this narrow window the coffin corner. The gap between stall speed and maximum speed at altitude was sometimes less than 10 knots. A small mistake meant the plane would either fall out of the sky or break apart in flight. At 70,000 feet, if the cabin loses pressure, a human body's blood will literally boil. U-2 pilots had to wear full pressure suits, the same kind worn by astronauts. The suits were heavy, hot, and exhausting. Missions could last over 10 hours. Pilots ate liquid food through a tube in the helmet. They could not scratch their face. They could not adjust their position. They sat strapped into a seat at the edge of space, watching the world turn beneath them, alone. On May 1, 1960, the Soviet Union finally caught one. A U-2 piloted by Francis Gary Powers was hit by a Soviet S-75 surface-to-air missile over Sverdlovsk. Powers ejected and was captured. The wreckage of his plane was paraded through Moscow as proof that American spies were violating Soviet airspace. The incident destroyed a planned summit between Eisenhower and Khrushchev. It also exposed the U-2 to the world. Everyone now knew what the plane was, what it did, and that it could be shot down. The CIA expected the program to end. It did not. In October 1962, a U-2 flying over Cuba photographed something that nearly ended the world. Soviet medium-range ballistic missile launch sites, under construction, 90 miles from Florida. The photographs touched off the Cuban Missile Crisis. For 13 days, the United States and the Soviet Union stood at the edge of nuclear war. The intelligence that started it, that informed every decision Kennedy made during those 13 days, came from a single aircraft type. The U-2 had become the most important spy plane in history, and it had only been flying for 7 years. By 1966, the Air Force believed it had found the U-2's replacement. The SR-71 Blackbird flew higher and 3 times faster. It could outrun missiles. It could photograph targets the U-2 could not safely approach. The Blackbird was the future. The U-2 was supposed to be the past. But the SR-71 had a problem the U-2 did not. It cost over $200,000 per flight hour to operate. The U-2 cost a fraction of that, and the U-2 could loiter over a target for hours. The Blackbird could only flash past it. In 1998, the SR-71 Blackbird was retired. The Air Force said it was too expensive. They said satellites had made it obsolete. They said the U-2 could handle anything the Blackbird had been doing, and the U-2 did. While the Blackbird sat in museums, the U-2 kept flying.
over Bosnia, over Iraq, over Afghanistan, over Syria. The plane that had been declared obsolete in 1960 was still doing the work that its supposed replacement could not.
By the 1990s, spy satellites could photograph almost any point on Earth. Politicians and generals began asking why the U-2 still existed. The answer was simple. Satellites follow predictable orbits. An enemy can know exactly when a satellite will be overhead and hide whatever they want to hide. A U-2 can change course, it can loiter, it can return. It can stay over a target for hours, watching, waiting, listening. Satellites take pictures, the U-2 watches. In 2001, the Air Force introduced the RQ-4 Global Hawk, an unmanned drone designed to fly higher and longer than the U-2. It would do the job without risking a pilot's life. Once again, the U-2 was supposed to be retired. But the Global Hawk had problems. Its sensors were not as capable. Its data links could be jammed. Its operating costs ballooned. And the U-2, with a human pilot in the cockpit making real-time decisions, kept doing things the drone could not. By 2020, the Air Force quietly began retiring Global Hawks while extending the U-2 service life again.
The U-2 keeps winning because it does one thing better than any other aircraft ever built. It carries the largest, heaviest, most capable sensors in the American intelligence inventory to the edge of space and holds them there for hours. Modern U-2s carry cameras, radar systems, and signals intelligence equipment that did not exist when Kelly Johnson designed the airframe in 1954. The plane has been upgraded, rebuilt, and modernized so many times that almost nothing of the original aircraft remains except the basic shape. But that shape, those long, thin wings, that single engine, that impossible altitude, has never been improved upon. As of 2026, the United States Air Force operates 27 U-2 aircraft from Beale Air Force Base in California. The current planned retirement date is 2026. That date has been pushed back 4 times in the last decade. Air Force officials have stopped making confident predictions about when the U-2 will actually stop flying.
Pilots assigned to the program joke that they will be flying the Dragon Lady when their grandchildren are old enough to enlist. The plane that was supposed to last 5 years has now been in service for 71.
The U-2 outlived the Cold War. It outlived the SR-71. It outlived the Global Hawk. It outlived every politician who tried to retire it and every engineer who tried to replace it. The Dragon Lady is not the most advanced aircraft in the American arsenal. It is just the one that has refused for 70 years to be replaced. If you want more stories about the machines that shaped the modern world, subscribe to the Time Vault. What aircraft should we cover next? Let us know in the comments.